Hello, I'm Dr. M. Welcome to VMC. Today we are going to do part 3 of this behavior series. We're discussing dominance. We will discuss what it is, what part it should play in our training plans, and you should join me. You'll learn something. So the definition when we're referring to animal behavior is that this is a behavior between individuals that is done to establish access to desired resources. So food, mating abilities, desired sleeping places, etc. And this dominance is established through force, aggression, and submission. This relationship is not established until one animal consistently defers to the other animal. So I hear a number of different false ideas about dominance that go around a lot. And the first one is that the research indicates dominance is not a personality trait. It is a fluid thing that will depend on situation and the group of the individuals. We know this because if you have a group that has an established dominance ranking system that then gets put into another group of animals, that ranking system will get changed up entirely. It's also important that we recognize dominance cannot be used to describe interactions with inanimate objects. I will hear people say, oh, my dog is trying to be dominant because he wants on the couch or he wants on the bed. Your dog cannot assert dominance with an inanimate object. So some species do have dominance ranked hierarchies. Common examples I think of are bulls and roosters, and there are many others. It appears the common reason that some animal species do this is because there is competition to pass your genetic material on. So in these species, the most fit animal will be the only one or close to the only one that has any access to females for breeding, and so their genetic material is much more likely to be passed on. It's very important that we understand that wolves and dogs do not have a dominance hierarchy. There was one point where researchers thought that maybe wolves did, but now that we have additional research on wolves and how their packs form, we understand it is not a dominance hierarchy at all, and researchers have stopped referring to the wolves in alpha terms, and what we know is that the packs that wolves have are actually more like family units, and so the male and female will breed and their offspring will stay with them as part of the pack, and as a family unit they must cooperate together in order to hunt and to survive. And so the parents are leaders because of experience and being parents, but they are not leaders because of dominance hierarchy, and they are not alphas. It's also important that we understand that dogs have changed and they are not wolves anymore over the time that they have spent beside humans. So dogs are now defined more as a scavenger species with a promiscuous mating system. It is not a dominance hierarchy at all. So thinking that we need to dominate a dog based on outdated information and incorrect information from wolf studies is such a faulty thing to even try to implement. We should not be doing that. One way that people will be told to assert dominance is to use an alpha role or a dominance role, and these are not effective. They don't teach the dog what we are wanting from them. It doesn't address the underlying reason for why the dog was doing the behavior in the first place, and all it does is increase fear and anxiety and increase the risk of that dog being aggressive, and therefore this is a safety problem for the humans as well. Do not use these alpha roles. You need to work with a strictly positive reinforcement trainer who has science-based education in order to learn how to change your pet's behavior. It's also important that we understand that even if there is an established dominance hierarchy, that does not at all mean that this is a peaceful existence. And this is something very important to consider, especially for in our own households, and why you don't want to have a dominance hierarchy. So if we look at things like lions and elephant seals, even if there is a stable dominance hierarchy, there are still frequent displays of aggression and animals getting hurt. And these dominant individuals do not remain in their position of dominance for long. For lions, it's roughly 2 years. Elephant seals, it might be a little bit longer, but still like a few years. And during those years, they are still constantly having to display aggression in order to maintain their rank, and over time that stability is not possible to maintain anymore. And this is a situation we just don't want to set up in our households. It's dangerous. We should not be constantly having to be aggressive to our pets. This risks harm to our pets, and it also increases the likelihood that our pets will become aggressive and fearfully aggressive, which means that the likelihood of humans being bitten or scratched or harmed is extremely high, and this is not an acceptable way to approach management of our pets. So why do our cats and dogs do some of these behaviors that humans often find undesirable? Well, the short answer has nothing to do with dominance. It's because that behavior is somehow rewarding to that individual. So, for example, why might your one dog chase your other dog or chase your cat? Because it's fun, because dogs enjoy chasing things that run away from them, and that chase is rewarding to the individual because it releases adrenaline and it is a desirable feeling that is rewarding to that individual. Why would our pets want to be on elevated surfaces? Well, for cats, it's often because they feel safer there. Vertical enrichment is very important for our cats, why it's such a big part of my feline husbandry video. Cats really need that space up and away to feel safe and to be able to rest. So that ability to rest and feel safe is rewarding to the cat, which is why they continue to seek out elevated spaces. For our dogs, why might they want to be on the couch or the bed? Because it's comfortable. I mean, the comfort of that location is rewarding to the animal. It has absolutely nothing to do with dominance. So when people use dominance-based training methods, what we know from our research studies is that it increases the likelihood of fearful behavior from the animals, tenseness, lip licking, yawning, averting the gaze, crouching, avoidance behaviors, etc. And the other thing that we know is that using these types of training methods increases the likelihood that those animals become aggressive. This is because they feel pushed and like they have no other alternative, because their body cues and their body language and their fear is not being listened to. And when they become, as they feel, stuck in a corner, then they will either freeze or run away, or they will fight. And so a lot of the aggression behaviors are fear-based. The more dominance and punishment that is used on pets, the higher the likelihood that they become aggressive. So what we have to do instead is use humane, ethical training methods that address the underlying emotional state of the animal and the reason for why they are acting the way that they do. So if you know that your dog is chasing something because it's fun, then you need to figure out a different behavior that is safe for everybody involved, that still is fun for your pet, and have them do that behavior instead. If you have an animal like a dog that is fearfully reactive to other dogs and they're barking and lunging and a very aggressive behavioral display, this isn't because they're trying to be dominant. In the vast majority of cases, reactivity like that is fear-based, although sometimes it's frustration-based. So the underlying cause for that behavior needs to be figured out and then addressed, and then we can change that underlying emotional component, give the pet safer and desirable behaviors to do instead. And this will be much more safe, effective, and humane for everybody who's involved. Now, it's important that we understand that positive reinforcement is not permissive. This means that we must remember we still have the responsibility of keeping our pets safe. So we need to manage the environment in ways that helps to keep them safe, and we need to reward the behaviors that we do want until they become habitual for the dog or cat, because we know that when we reward behavior, it will increase in frequency in the future. Giving food as a reward is often one of the best ways to do this. This does not reinforce the dominance. What it is instead doing is addressing the underlying emotion of fear. So instead of a situation being associated with something scary, now we can keep the pet under their threshold of fear and show them that in these situations, good things are happening instead. And over time, the animal will learn and change their behavior because their emotions are being appropriately addressed. Well, on this channel, we put out new videos most Fridays. Please comment if you've learned something today, if you have a video topic that you'd like me to cover in the future. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye!